The legend of the Kraken. In the age of sails and whispers, when the oceans were a tapestry of myths and the stars served as navigators, there existed a creature whose name was spoken in hushed tones among sailors: the Kraken. This legendary beast, said to dwell in the icy depths of the North Atlantic, was a source of both dread and fascination. Chapter 1. The Call of the Sea. On a brisk autumn morning in 1713, a young sailor named Elias Thorne set sail aboard the Wind Rider. With dreams of adventure and tales of treasure driving him, he joined a diverse crew. Each man had a story, but none compared to the one that sent shivers down their spines: the tale of the Kraken. Old Captain Graves, a weathered mariner with a grizzled beard, would often regale the crew with his encounters with the beast. "It's a monster, lads. A beast so grand it could snatch a ship whole and drag it to the briny depths. Beware the calm before the storm. That's when it strikes." Though the crew laughed nervously, Elias was entranced. He longed to see the creature, to experience the thrill of such a legendary encounter. As the Wind Rider glided across the sapphire waters, he kept watch for any sign of the mythical beast. Chapter 2. The Calm Before the Storm. Weeks passed, and the crew of the Wind Rider braved treacherous storms and bountiful fish hauls. The ship, a sturdy vessel crafted from the finest oak, had seen many voyages, but none had tested its mettle like this one. One fateful night, while the moon hung low and full, a peculiar stillness enveloped the ship. The wind stilled, and the waters shimmered like glass. The crew felt a palpable tension in the air. "Something isn't right," Elias murmured to his friend, Tom, a burly man with a hearty laugh that could echo across the waves. "This calm, it's too eerie." Tom chuckled, dismissing the young sailor's concerns. "It's just the sea playing tricks on your mind. Old Graves has you spooked." But as the night deepened, a thick fog rolled in, wrapping the ship in a chilling embrace. Whispers of the Kraken filled the air, and the crew gathered on deck, eyes wide with apprehension. They shared ghost stories, recounting tales of ships lost to the creature's grasp, of sailors pulled beneath the waves, never to be seen again. Chapter 3. The Encounter. Suddenly, the waters erupted. A massive tentacle broke the surface, sending waves crashing against the ship. The Wind Rider rocked violently as the crew scrambled to their stations, shouting commands amidst the chaos. "Hold steady," Captain Graves bellowed, his voice cutting through the panic. "Man the harpoons!" Elias stood frozen, his heart racing as he watched the monstrous tentacle coiling and curling like a serpent. The air was thick with salt and fear, and the monstrous form of the Kraken slowly revealed itself. It was an awe-inspiring sight. Eyes like dark abysses, skin glistening with seaweed and barnacles, and an array of tentacles that seemed to stretch toward the horizon. The Kraken thrashed, its power shaking the very foundations of the ship. Elias, gripped by both terror and wonder, felt an inexplicable connection to the beast. In that moment, he understood that the Kraken was not just a creature of destruction, but a guardian of the ocean, a sentinel of its secrets. Chapter 4. A Choice. As the crew fought valiantly against the beast, trying to free their ship from its grasp, Elias felt a pull within him. He reached for a harpoon, but instead of aiming it at the Kraken, He made a choice that would change his fate forever. "Stop," he shouted, surprising his comrades. "We must not harm it." Captain Graves, eyes wide with disbelief, shot Elias a furious look. "Are you mad? It'll drown us all." But Elias stepped forward, determination igniting his spirit. "We can coexist. We must show it we mean no harm." The Kraken paused, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. With a deep, rumbling sound that echoed through the water, it withdrew slightly, its tentacles relaxing their grip. Chapter 5: Understanding. In the silence that followed, Elias took a deep breath and stepped closer to the edge of the ship. "You're a magnificent creature," he called out. "We are not your enemies." To his astonishment, the Kraken turned its massive head, fixing him with its dark gaze. In that moment, Elias felt a connection, a bridge between man and beast. Slowly, the creature unfurled one of its tentacles, offering a glimpse of trust. The crew, witnessing this extraordinary exchange, fell silent. With a sense of unity, they lowered their harpoons and let the Kraken be. It thrashed the water in joy, creating waves that shimmered under the moonlight. Captain Graves, still tense but intrigued, watched as the Kraken began to weave intricate patterns in the water with its tentacles, almost as if it were communicating through the movements. "Look!" one of the crew members exclaimed, pointing. "It's drawing something." Elias's heart raced as he realized the Kraken was creating shapes, circles, spirals, and arcs that danced on the surface. It was a language of the sea, a form of expression that spoke of freedom, beauty, and the depths of the ocean. Chapter 6: A New Bond. As the night wore on, Elias found himself captivated by the creature. He called out to it, not in fear, but in curiosity. "What do you want from us?" he asked, his voice steady despite the enormity of the moment. The Kraken paused, its enormous eyes narrowing slightly as if considering Elias's question. It slowly drew a larger circle, and then another, connecting them in a pattern that seemed to tell a story. Elias realized it was depicting the cycles of the moon and tide, the interconnectedness of all living things, the balance of the ocean's ecosystem. This wasn't just a beast. It was a guardian of the sea, a keeper of ancient wisdom. With renewed determination, Elias turned to the crew. "We can learn from it. This creature knows the ocean better than we ever could. Instead of hunting it, we should seek to understand." Chapter 7: A Decision of Hearts. The crew murmured among themselves, their initial fear giving way to awe. One by one, they nodded, agreeing to abandon their weapons. Captain Graves, his heart softened by the sight of the creature's beauty, took a deep breath and lowered his harpoon, casting it into the sea. In that moment, a bond was forged, not just between Elias and the Kraken, but among the crew members as well. They had faced their fear and found something greater: understanding. As dawn approached, the Kraken began to retreat, its massive form slowly sinking beneath the waves. But before it disappeared completely, it reached out one last time, touching the ship gently with its tentacle. The crew felt a surge of warmth and gratitude as the creature communicated its acceptance. Chapter 8: The Journey Home. As the first rays of sunlight broke over the horizon, casting a golden glow upon the sea, the crew of the Windrider shared their stories and dreams. No longer bound by fear, They were united by a shared experience that would echo through their lives. Elias took his place at the ship's helm, feeling a newfound sense of purpose. "We must tell the world of the Kraken, not as a monster, but as a guardian," he declared. The crew nodded in agreement, filled with a sense of responsibility to protect the very creature that had spared their lives. They made a pact to respect the ocean and its inhabitants, vowing to be stewards of the sea rather than its conquerors. Chapter 9. The Kraken's Legacy. As they sailed home, the tales of the Kraken transformed into legends of wisdom and coexistence. Each crew member took on a role in sharing the story, spreading the word to coastal towns and bustling ports. They spoke of the night they faced the Kraken, emphasizing the importance of understanding the unknown rather than fearing it. Captain Graves became a revered storyteller, weaving elaborate narratives that captivated audiences. He spoke of the patterns the Kraken drew in the water, symbolizing the intricate web of life that connected all beings. With every retelling, the legend of the Kraken evolved, highlighting its role as a protector rather than a destroyer. Elias, driven by a passion for marine life, became an advocate for the ocean. He journeyed to coastal towns, teaching others about the delicate balance of the marine ecosystem and the importance of respecting its inhabitants. His encounters with the Kraken inspired a generation of sailors and fishermen to see the ocean through a different lens. Chapter 10. A Final Encounter. Years later, on a return voyage to the same waters where they had first encountered the Kraken, Elias stood at the helm of the Windrider once more, now a seasoned captain. The sea was calm, the air heavy with anticipation. Suddenly, a familiar sight broke the surface, the Kraken. But this time it was not alone. A series of smaller creatures emerged, tentacles swirling and glistening in the sunlight. The Kraken had returned, accompanied by its young. Elias's heart swelled with joy and gratitude. "It's come to show us the next generation," he exclaimed, turning to his crew. As the Kraken and its young circled the ship, Elias felt a profound connection, as if the bond they had formed years ago had come full circle. The crew marveled at the sight, taking in the beauty of the creatures that had once terrified them. With a flick of its tentacle, the Kraken created a grand splash, sending shimmering droplets of water cascading over the ship. It was a celebration, a joyous reunion of kindred spirits. Chapter 11. The Legacy of Understanding. From that day forward, the Windrider and its crew became known as the Guardians of the Sea. They dedicated themselves to preserving the balance of marine life, advocating for sustainable practices, and sharing their story with everyone they encountered. Elias often returned to the sea, always hopeful for another glimpse of the Kraken and its young. The ocean became a place of learning, discovery, and connection, as sailors and fishermen embraced a new respect for its mysteries. The Kraken's legend grew, transforming from a tale of terror to one of wisdom, coexistence, and guardianship. It served as a reminder that sometimes the greatest monsters hold the most profound truths, and that understanding can bridge the deepest chasms of fear. And so, the story of the Kraken lived on, a timeless tale woven into the fabric of maritime lore, a legacy that would inspire generations to come, inviting all to look beyond the surface and embrace the wonders of the unknown.